Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown and AEW Rampage review. Smackdown tonight was from the Canada Life Center in Winnipeg, Canada, while Rampage was taped from the Liacouras Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And Smackdown tonight, I thought it was a solid show, in my opinion. I really enjoyed Smackdown tonight. Although plans had to be changed, the show suffered the same as AEW Dynamite did on Wednesday, with superstars not being there because of travel issues, because of Hurricane Ian down there in Florida. Some of the superstars live down there in Florida. So plans had to be changed for SmackDown tonight because of that. But still, they managed to deliver a solid show. But tonight on SmackDown, we saw Sami Zayn and Sikoa. They end up taking on Madcap Moss and Ricochet. We saw Hit Row take on Los Lotharios, Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo. We saw Ronda Rousey versus Natalya again. We saw Bayley versus Shotzi. And the main event, it was a six-man tag where we saw Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, and Johnny Gargano versus the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis, and Austin Theory. Like I said, SmackDown was a solid show tonight. Aside from plans being changed, with some superstars not being able to be in Canada because of the travel issues, because of the hurricane. But anyways, let's jump right into the review. SmackDown opened up tonight with Sami Zayn, or the honorary Oos Sami Zayn. He made his way down. He had Sikoa come out with him. So we saw what happened last week where Roman Reigns ended up telling Sami Zayn to take off the Bloodline shirt, and Roman ended up giving Sami Zayn a shirt that said honorary Oos on it. So, and then we saw, Sami Zayn acknowledging the tribal chief. And then we saw a replay of Sikoa end up taking out Ricochet and Madcap Moss last week on SmackDown, which I didn't review SmackDown last week, but saw clips of it. But we had the first match of the night. We saw Sami Zayn and Sikoa versus Ricochet and Madcap Moss tag team match. This was a very good match. Sami Zayn started off the match against Ricochet. Sami Zayn ended up applying a side headlock on Ricochet. Ricochet fought to his feet. So we had the Canada crowd. They were chanting for Sami Zayn. Ricochet ended up taking Sami Zayn down, sending him into the ropes. Ricochet ended up delivering a head scissors takedown to Sami Zayn, and then he delivered a drop kick. So Madcap Moss tagged in. He delivered a shoulder to Sami Zayn in the corner. Moss delivered some forearms to Sami Zayn's back. Sami Zayn then ended up hitting a drop toe hold to Madcap Moss into the ropes. Sikoa tagged in. He went and attacked Moss, started delivering some right hands to Moss. Sikoa then ended up headbutting Madcap Moss, started stomping him in the corner. Sami Zayn ended up cheap shotting Madcap Moss. Sami Zayn then tagged in, started punching Moss in the face. Sami Zayn ran the ropes, but Moss ended up sending Sami Zayn out of the ring. Ricochet then delivered a knee to Sikoa's face, and Moss ended up knocking Sikoa to ringside. Ricochet then ran the ropes, and Madcap Moss sent Ricochet flying over the top rope onto both Sami Zayn and Sikoa. And then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Sikoa ended up applying a hold onto Ricochet. Ricochet fought up, and Sikoa ended up elbowing Ricochet down. So Sol Sikoa ended up sending Ricochet into the corner, and Sol Sikoa delivered a Samoan drop to Ricochet, to which he ended up going for the cover. Ricochet kicked out at 2. Sol Sikoa started stomping on Ricochet and delivered a headbutt. Sikoa ended up doing a leg drop to Ricochet. He ended up lifting Ricochet up, and Ricochet fought out. He tried to go for a sunset flip, but Sikoa ended up staying on, and he ended up putting Ricochet in the corner. Ricochet ended up knocking Sikoa back and delivered a missile drop kick. So now, at this point in the match, we had Madcap Moss and Sami Zayn. They both ended up tagging in. They both went at each other. Moss delivered a shoulder tackle to Sami Zayn and then delivered a clothesline. He ended up sending Sami Zayn flying with a fallaway slam. So Moss started punching away at Sami Zayn in the corner, and he pinned a run shoulder to Sami Zayn in the corner. Moss ended up hitting another shoulder tackle before he ended up knocking Sol Sikoa out of the ring, to which he delivered a shoulder tackle to Sol Sikoa. So Sikoa grabbed a chair, and he was irate. Ricochet ended up grabbing his ankle. Moss ended up knocking Sikoa down, and Sami Zayn ended up rolling Moss up, and Moss ended up kicking out at 2. Sami Zayn then ended up hitting Moss with the Blue Thunder Bomb. Sami Zayn ended up going for the cover, and Moss ended up kicking out. Sami Zayn couldn't believe that Moss kicked out of the Blue Thunder Bomb. Sami Zayn ended up going up to the top rope. He ended up waiting for Moss to get back up to his feet. Sami Zayn ended up going for a crossbody. Moss ended up rolling through and hit the jackhammer to Sami Zayn. Moss ended up going for the cover, and Sol Sikoa ended up breaking up the pin. So there was a point in the match where we had Ricochet end up going for a suicide dive on Sol Sikoa. Sikoa ended up throwing the chair into Ricochet's face, which was crazy. So Sikoa ended up sending Ricochet into the ring post, and then he sent him into the timekeeper's area, and the lights end up dimming in the arena. So with the lights dimming there, that's a sign. Maybe, a sign of, the White Rabbit, Bray Wyatt. Everybody's talking about, the White Rabbit and who it could be. We obviously know it's Bray Wyatt. And those people saying, it could be Karrion Kross. It's not Karrion Kross. Yeah, we all knew that if you watched Lucha Underground, when Karrion Kross was in Lucha Underground, he was known as the White Rabbit. In the Rabbit Tribe, which had Paul London in it. So it's not Karrion Kross. A lot of people said, it could be Corbin. It could be Corbin. No, it's not Corbin. People also said it could be Malachi Black. It's not him. It's Bray Wyatt. And there was talks of the White Rabbit possibly making a debut at Extreme Rules next Saturday. So, heard of that. So, we might see the White Rabbit, Bray Wyatt, reappearing at Extreme Rules next Saturday. Hopefully that's the case. So, Sikoa then ended up blind tagging in. He ended up hitting Moss with a spin kick. Sikoa followed up with the spin solo to Moss, and he ended up going for the cover. And there you go, Sami Zayn and Sol Sikoa ended up winning the match. Post-match, Moss ended up grabbing Sami Zayn by his beard. Sol Sikoa ended up attacking Moss. Sikoa ended up knocking Moss to the corner, and he ended up hitting 2 hip attacks to Moss. Sami Zayn then ended up holding Sol Sikoa back, and he held Sikoa's arm up, and that was basically that. Overall, this was a very good match. This was a very entertaining match from Zayn, Sikoa, Ricochet, and Moss. It was crazy in that spot where Sikoa ended up throwing that chair into Ricochet's face. And then we saw Sami Zayn and Sol Sikoa they both were walking backstage. So Sami Zayn was prepping Sikoa up. They ended up getting to the Bloodline locker room, and the door was locked. So Jey Uso ended up popping out of the room. Sami Zayn ended up asking Jey what he's doing here. So Jey ended up saying that he embraces his brother, and he ended up telling him to go into the locker room. Jey ended up closing the door and got in Sami Zayn's face. Jey ended up saying that Sami Zayn may have everyone in the family fooled, but not him. Jey ended up saying that he will end Sami Zayn if he puts the family in jeopardy. So Sami Zayn ended up saying to Jey that he's the honorary Uce and that he wants to go into the locker room. So Sami Zayn ended up bypassing Jey Uso, and that was that. So Jey Uso not taking a liking to Sami Zayn. And then we had Karrion Kross. We had a promo from Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross ended up saying that putting people down and in the hospital is his specialty. He ended up saying that he will take Drew McIntyre to the point of no return at Extreme Rules. And he ended up saying that they want the same thing, but only one of them has it, and that they are bound together. Kross ended up saying that when McIntyre is out of the way, he'll make history by becoming the new, undisputed WWE Universal Champion. So he ended up saying TikTok. And then a QR code ended up appearing. Obviously, the QR code, another code for the White Rabbit. So that was basically that. But Karrion Kross delivered one hell of a promo. It was very good. And he's going to be facing Drew McIntyre at Extreme Rules, and it's going to be in a strap match, which that should be very good. You know, Extreme Rules is shaping up to be a good show next Saturday. So then we saw Kayla Braxton. Kayla Braxton was backstage with Austin Theory, Mr. Money in the Bank. Kayla Braxton ended up asking Theory if he's going to cash in the briefcase anytime soon. Theory ended up telling Kayla Braxton that he's learned his lesson, and that his cash-ins have been ruined. He ended up saying that the only reason he went to Wales is to cash in. The only reason, to cash in over there at Clash at the Castle. He ended up saying that there's no other reason to go to Wales. It's like the Winnipeg of England. He ended up saying that the only one to make a bigger fool of themselves was Drew McIntyre. So Theory started talking shit down to Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre was behind Austin Theory. Austin Theory didn't know that Drew McIntyre was behind him. McIntyre then grabbed Theory by his shoulder, and he ended up telling Theory to get in the ring now. So that was basically that. And then we had Drew McIntyre versus Austin Theory, which this was a quick match here. Austin Theory was accompanied by Chad Gable and Otis, the Alpha Academy. So the match started with Theory ended up ducking a clothesline from Drew McIntyre. Theory started taunting away at McIntyre. Theory quickly ran through the ropes to avoid McIntyre. Theory then delivered a chop to McIntyre, but it did nothing to McIntyre. McIntyre didn't sell the chop from Theory. McIntyre then ended up chopping Theory down. He then ended up hitting a release suplex to Theory. So Chad Gable on the outside was shouting for the crowd to shush. God. So McIntyre ended up sending him into the ropes. He ended up sending Theory into the ropes. And Theory ended up holding onto the ropes. He ended up pulling himself out of the ring. Theory ended up talking with Chad Gable and Otis. McIntyre ended up grabbing him from in the ring. Theory ended up snapping McIntyre off the top rope and ended up pinning a drop kick to McIntyre. Theory started punching away at McIntyre, but McIntyre ended up coming back and delivered the future shock DDT to Theory. So the match ended in a disqualification because Otis dragged McIntyre out of the ring, so the referee ended up calling for the bell. So Otis ended up sending McIntyre into the ring steps. He put McIntyre into the ring. So we had a 3-on-1 assault on Drew McIntyre. We had the Alpha Academy and Theory started beating McIntyre down. And then Johnny Gargano ended up coming out. Johnny Gargano ran down to the ring to help McIntyre, but we had a 3-on-1 assault on Johnny Gargano from Austin Theory and the Alpha Academy. And then Kevin Owens ended up making his way out. Kevin Owens got a huge pop from the crowd. He made his way down to the ring, and then Kevin Owens, Gargano, and McIntyre end up clearing the ring of Austin Theory and the Alpha Academy. And this is typical WWE 101 here. When you see this happen, you know that they're setting it up for a 6-man tag, which we got later on tonight, which was the main event of the show. Typical WWE 101. And then we saw Max Dupree. God, here we go with the Maximum Male Models. God. So he was walking backstage. We had Marseille and Mansois end up stopping him. They end up telling Dupree that they're going to win the title. So Dupree was excited that they're facing the Usos. But Maxine ended up saying that they're going to win the title of the longest pose ever. So Marseille and Mansois started to pose. Gosh, this is so fucking awful. This was fucking awful. They started to pose, and it's the new meme that people are going to snapshot and create. So Hit Row end up interrupting them, and they end up walking off. Marseille and Mansoir started posing again, and Max Dupree walked away. God, this is awful. Why are the Maximum Male Models still on our TVs? Why? And the issue that I had with tonight's show was too much. We saw too much of the Maximum Male Models tonight. God, this Maximum Male Model shit is fucking dead. Put it out of its misery. Please, Triple H. Get it off our TVs. So then we saw Shotzi. Shotzi end up cutting a promo. She ended up saying that Bayley and her cronies, Dakota Kai and Io Sky, showed her what they were all about. Shotzi ended up saying that she doesn't sit on the sidelines. And she ended up saying that she will see how much control Bayley has when she stomps all over her tonight. So that was what Shotzi had to say. And then we had Hit Row versus Los Lotharios. And this was a very quick match. This was another quick match. So we had Angel and Humberto end up crushing Ashante the Adonis with a front slam, a double team front slam. Angel and Humberto end up double teaming on Adonis with some stomps. Angel then removed his pants. He ended up throwing his pants at Top Dollar. Angel ended up going for a suplex to Adonis. Adonis ended up flipping through, ended up delivering a neck breaker to Angel. So that brought in Top Dollar and Humberto Carrillo. Top Dollar ended up taking out Humberto. He ended up throwing him into the corner. And Top Dollar ended up hitting a sidewalk slam to Humberto. And then he delivered a big elbow drop to Humberto. So Top Dollar ended up going for the cover. Angel Garza ended up breaking up the pin. Top Dollar then grabbed Angel and Humberto, and Adonis tagged in. Top Dollar ended up slamming both Angel and Humberto. Top Dollar ended up waiting for Humberto to get up. And then Hit Row ended up doing their drop kick back suplex combo to Humberto. And there you go. Hit Row ended up winning the match. But very quick match this was. And then we saw Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey was warming up for her match with Natalya. And Kayla Braxton ended up asking Ronda about Liv Morgan getting extreme last week. So Ronda ended up calling Liv Morgan a Hooters Barbie. And she ended up saying that she'll destroy Liv Morgan. So Ronda Rousey ended up saying that she is the most dangerous woman on the planet. So that was what Ronda had to say, claiming that, she thinks that Liv Morgan might think she's extreme, but she ended up saying that she could still kick Liv Morgan's ass. So, but that was basically that. And then we had Ronda Rousey versus Natalya. And how many times have we seen this? This was just very meh, in my opinion. Obviously, we knew who was going to win the match. But Natalya ended up coming out. She came out, like Bret Hart, wearing the glasses. So the match ended up starting. Both Natalya and Ronda got in each other's faces. Ronda shoved Natalya. Natalya ended up hooking the ankle and applied an ankle lock on Ronda. Ronda rolled through, dragged Natalya into the corner. Ronda ended up punching Natalya down, ended up putting her on the ropes. Ronda started choking Natalya on the middle rope and delivered a knee to Natalya's face. So we had Ronda Rousey end up grabbing the leg of Natalya. Natalya was screaming in pain, and Natalya ended up tapping out. So there you go. Ronda Rousey ended up winning the match. Post-match, Liv Morgan ended up coming out. Liv Morgan was holding a baseball bat, and she was staring at Ronda. And I'm like, what does Liv Morgan think? She's Negan from The Walking Dead here? So Liv Morgan ended up approaching Ronda. Ronda ended up kicking Liv Morgan. Morgan ended up hitting Ronda in the midsection with the bat. And both Ronda and Liv ended up fighting at ringside. Ronda ended up hitting the Piper's Pit to Liv Morgan on the floor. And they were fighting over who would get the bat. So Ronda ended up knocking Liv Morgan back down, sent her into the timekeeper's area. Ronda then grabbed the bat, and security came out. Security was confronting Ronda. Ronda was teasing to attack the security with the baseball bat. But she dropped the bat, and she walked off, and security was escorting her out. So Liv Morgan ended up emerging from the timekeeper's area, and she ended up attacking Ronda from behind and turned into a brawl. So they were just going at it with each other, Liv Morgan and Ronda. So that was that. And then we saw Kevin Owens, Johnny Gargano, and Drew McIntyre backstage. McIntyre ended up saying that he knows him and Kevin Owens don't see eye to eye, but they can all agree on one thing, and that is that Austin Theory needs his ass kicked. To which Johnny Gargano ended up agreeing with McIntyre, and Kevin Owens was like, yeah, we're in the same book, that Theory needs to get his ass kicked. So Kevin Owens ended up walking off, and he ended up seeing the Maximum Male Models, Marseille and Mansois. And Kevin Owens was like, oh, Marseille's hand needs to be higher for the pose to be effective. So he ended up saying that about Marseille's hand. And then Kevin Owens walked and he saw Sami Zayn. And Kevin Owens ended up telling Sami Zayn, oh, you need a new shirt. So he ended up walking off, and that was that. And then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw Marseille and Mansoor. They were still posing, doing the longest pose. And Shinsuke Nakamura ended up coming. And he was posing with Marseille and Mansoor. Sonya Deville popped up, wanted not to see the Maximum Male Models pose. And it's just Nakamura just posing with them. So yeah, they finally found Nakamura. Nakamura has been used since, I don't know when the last time we saw Nakamura on TV. Well, this is what they got for Nakamura. Put this Maximum Male Model shit out of our fucking miseries. Get it off our TVs. Please, Triple H. And then we saw Imperium. Imperium, Giovanni Vinci, and Ludwig Kaiser and Gunther end up coming out. So Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci started running down the Brawling Brutes. And of course they end up putting over Gunther. To which Imperium is going to be battling the Brawling Brutes at Extreme Rules in a 6-man good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. So Gunther got on the mic. He ended up saying that he'll destroy Sheamus next week and grind him down, and that he will enjoy it. So then Sheamus came out. Sheamus got on the mic. He ended up saying that he's going to take out Imperium tonight. So Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci end up charging at him. Sheamus ended up taking both Kaiser and Vinci out with a shillelagh. He then got in the ring with Gunther. So Gunther ended up squaring up with Sheamus. Sheamus ended up throwing the shillelagh away. They started brawling in the ring. And Sheamus ended up delivering a knee to Gunther's face. Sheamus was sent up for the bro kick to Gunther. But Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser end up grabbing Gunther. Gunther ended up attacking Sheamus. He ripped his shirt off and just started delivering some vicious chops to Sheamus. Gunther then grabbed the Intercontinental Championship and he was just talking trash to Sheamus and he delivered a chop to Sheamus. Gunther then ended up hitting Sheamus with a powerbomb, and that was that. Imperium ended up walking off together. Sheamus then ended up grabbing the mic and he ended up asking Gunther, "Oh, is that all you got?" Gunther turned back around. He walked back to the ring. Kaiser and Vinci ended up getting in the ring and they ended up attacking Sheamus. So Kaiser and Vinci holded up Sheamus. Gunther ended up taking Sheamus out with the shillelagh to Sheamus' face. And then Imperium ended up walking off. So that was basically that. But we're going to get Sheamus versus Gunther again next week. Which, can't wait for that. Their match at Clash at the Castle was a 5-star classic, in my opinion. That was one of the best matches of the night at the show. So then we saw Bayley. Bayley ended up cutting a promo. She ended up saying that Dakota Kai and Io Sky aren't there, of course, because of the hurricane. So she ended up saying that she's going to be the Raw Women's Champion when she beats Bianca Belair again. So that was what Bayley had to say. And then we went to Michael Cole, to which he announced very sad news. He ended up announcing that Antonio Enoki, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, maybe pronounced it wrong. Michael Cole ended up announcing that Antonio Enoki passed away earlier today. And he was 79 years old. and he was one of the most influential and important figures in the history of Japanese professional wrestling. And according here to WrestlingInc.com, Yahoo Japan reported this, and his cause of death was not reported, but it was well known that he had some health problems over recent years, and he also had a leadership of New Japan, and he was also, of course, a wrestler, to which he defeated Bob Backlund in 1979 to win the WWF Heavyweight Championship, but WWE never officially recognized his reign, with the title, and he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2010. But this was very sad news. Thoughts and prayers, go out to his family. But he passed away at 79 years old. So, but I haven't seen any of his matches. He was way before my time. And then we had Bayley versus Shotzi. So we had Bayley end up coming out first, and then Shotzi came out, and we had the return of Shotzi's tank, to which they said that they were going to bring Shotzi's tank back. And when she came out with the tank, I was really happy. Shotzi coming out in her tank resembles her image. We all loved when, Shotzi would have a match, she'd come out on the tank, in NXT. It just, fitted her image. So really happy that Triple H ended up bringing back the tank for Shotzi. Hopefully next we get her last name back, and she will be known again as Shotzi Blackheart. But the match itself, it was just very meh, in my opinion. So we had Shotzi end up drop kicking Bayley into the corner. Shotzi end up throwing Bayley into the other corner, end up throwing her down. And she ended up hitting a bulldog to Bayley. Shotzi ended up delivering some kicks and forearms to Bayley. And then she delivered a suplex to Bayley into the turnbuckles. So Bayley came back, ended up hitting the rose plant on Shotzi, ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Bayley ended up winning the match. Post-match, Bayley was upset, and she ended up hitting Shotzi with another rose plant. Bayley ended up retrieving a ladder from underneath the ring. She put the ladder in the ring, and she ended up sandwiching Shotzi in the middle of it, in the middle of the ladder. Bayley ended up getting on the second rope, and Bianca Belair ended up running out. Bianca Belair ran down to make the save. Bianca ended up saving Shotzi, ended up getting her out of the ring. And so Bayley then attacked Bianca from behind, and Bayley was going for the rose plant to Bianca on the ladder, but Bianca ended up fighting out of it, and she ended up lifting Bayley up. It looked like she was going to hit the KOD to Bayley on the ladder, but Bayley ended up escaping, and pretty much that was basically that. Overall, the match was just very meh, in my opinion. But at Extreme Rules, Bayley, in my opinion, is going to be taking the title off of Bianca. Bayley will be your new Raw Women's Champion next week at Extreme Rules. So all of Damage Control are going to hold the gold. And then we saw Maxine Dupree. Maxine was still timing the long poses from Marseille and Mansoir, and they were down to the final 10 seconds, and Max Dupree ended up attacking them. Dupree ended up saying that they should be going for real titles and not acting like fools. Dupree ended up taking his belt off, and he ended up saying that the Maximum Male Models was never really for him. So with that happening, we all know that Max Dupree is going to return to LA Knight. And that is awesome. That is great. Really glad he escaped this atrocity known as the Maximum Male Models. Absolutely awful. Now, hopefully they could take this shit off of our TVs with the Maximum Male Models. This shit is fucking dead. It was a failure from day one. And then they went over what we're going to see on the season premiere of SmackDown next week. So it'll be Sheamus versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. So it'll be Sheamus versus Gunther 2. Should be a very good match there. So Ricochet will also take on Sikoa, which I expect that to be, a very good match. And then we're going to get a face-to-face between the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, and Logan Paul. God help us when that happens. Awful. Main event. 6-man tag. Austin Theory and the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis versus Kevin Owens, Johnny Gargano, and Drew McIntyre. And this was a good match here. Johnny Gargano ended up starting the match against Chad Gable. Both guys ended up blocking up. Gargano ended up wrenching at Chad Gable's arm. Gable ended up rolling through and wrenched Johnny Gargano's arm. Johnny Gargano ended up delivering a dropkick to Gable, and then he hit a run with Hurricanrana. He gave Chad Gable a chop to his chest. And we had Chad Gable end up attacking Johnny Gargano from behind, and he tagged in Austin Theory, to which Gable ended up attacking Gargano because Austin Theory ended up getting in Gargano's face. So Theory ended up attacking Gargano. He ended up delivering a shoulder to Gargano in the corner. Gargano ended up taking Theory down and kicked Theory in the face. Gargano then ended up hitting a slingshot spear to Theory. Chad Gable ended up running in, but Gargano sent Gable out of the ring. McIntyre went and attacked Otis, and Kevin Owens hit Austin Theory and Chad Gable with a cannonball off the apron. It's always pretty cool when Kevin Owens ends up hitting the cannonball. So then SmackDown came back from the commercial. We had Johnny Gargano delivering a shoulder to Chad Gable back on the apron. He ended up going for the one final beat, but Chad Gable countered that into a Northern Lights suplex to Gargano. He ended up going for the cover, to which Gargano kicked out at 2. Gable then ended up applying an armbar, and Gargano ended up fighting out of that. Theory ended up pulling McIntyre off the apron and sending him into the LED barricade. Gargano ended up rolling Gable. He ended up going for a kick. Gable countered that into an ankle lock, to which Gargano countered Gable with a roll-up, and Gable ended up kicking out 2. So, at the end of the match, we had Kevin Owens and Gargano end up clearing off the commentary table, and they end up putting Otis on the table. Because we had, before that, Gargano ended up going for a planche on Otis, but Otis ended up catching him, and Owens and Gargano ended up hitting Otis with a super kick before they ended up hitting a double super kick. So Gable ended up attacking them. They ended up slamming Owens on the floor. So Gargano ended up delivering a DDT to Otis. And on the table, Kevin Owens ended up hitting Gable with the stunner. And back in the ring, McIntyre ended up delivering a Claymore to Austin Theory. He ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Kevin Owens, Johnny Gargano, and Drew McIntyre ended up winning this 6-man tag. Post-match, McIntyre grabbed the leather strap and he smacked Austin Theory on the back with the leather strap, and pretty much that was how SmackDown went off the air. Overall, this was a solid show tonight. This was a solid SmackDown. Really enjoyed it. And the six-man tag, thought was a good match. So, solid show for SmackDown tonight. Moving on to Rampage, which Rampage was just a very meh show. It was a very skippable show outside of the first match, which was the Acclaimed versus the Butcher, the Blade, and Private Party. It was a three-way match, and the AEW World Tag Team Championship was on the line. We also saw Lee Moriarty versus Fuego Del Sol, Jobber Del Sol, Jamie Hayter versus Will Nightingale, and in the main event, it was Roosh versus John Silver. Overall, Rampage, this was a very skippable show. So Rampage opened up with the three-way match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. The Acclaimed defend the title against the Butcher, the Blade, and Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Wen. So we had Private Party and the Butcher and the Blade. They were already in the ring. The Acclaimed end up coming out, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. What was funny was Caster was doing the rap, and he was telling the Private Party to get off Matt Hardy's nuts, which I thought was funny. So they then end up insulting the Butcher and the Blade. But this was a good match here. So we saw Matt Hardy. He was watching the match in the back. Bowens and Isaiah Cassidy end up starting off the match. Both guys end up going for quick pin attempts. Bowens end up trying to kick Isaiah Cassidy, but he ended up ducking, and Max Caster tagged in. Caster ended up pinning a drop kick on Isaiah Cassidy. Bowens and Caster ended up double teaming on Isaiah Cassidy. Bowens came off the second rope and ended up hitting Cassidy in his groin. The Butcher and the Blade ended up coming in, and the Butcher and the Blade countered the silly string from Private Party, and they ended up knocking both Private Party out of the ring. So the Butcher and the Blade, they were continuing tagging in and out. They were keeping Anthony Bowens in their corner. So the Blade had Bowens down. Bowens ended up trying to fight back. The Blade ended up delivering a power slam to Bowens. And the Blade ended up tagging in the Butcher. And the Butcher ended up hitting a big leg drop on Bowens. The Blade ended up tagging back in as Bowens ended up trying to fight back with some chops. So Bowens came back. He ended up delivering a thrust kick on the Blade. The Blade ended up coming in. He ended up taking out Max Caster to prevent Caster from tagging in. Mark Wen ended up blind tagging himself, and he ended up hitting the Blade and took the Butcher out with a big moonsault off the top rope. Cassidy ended up coming back in. He ended up taking out the Butcher and the Blade. And at the end of the match, we had the Acclaimed end up hitting the mic drop on the Blade. And that was that. The Acclaimed end up winning the match, retaining the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Obviously predictable. They just won it last week at Grand Slam. But overall, it was a good three-way match. But predictable in the end, with the Acclaimed end up winning. So we saw Lexi Nair backstage. She was with Austin and Colton Gunn, Stokely Hathaway, and W. Morrissey. Of course, they are part of The Firm, which this group did nothing for me when they were introduced. None of them stand out aside from William Morrissey. So they ended up talking about how they are going to skip over FTR. And they're going right for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. So they want a shot at the Acclaimed. So then, as Rampage came back from the commercial, Lexi Nair was backstage with Jade Cargill. She was saying how she is not getting any competition. So Jade Cargill was then interrupted by Vicky Guerrero. And she had Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir. Yeah, every time I fall asleep when I gotta mention her name. She is that boring, Marina Shafir. Marina Snorfear. So Nyla Rose ended up challenging Jade Cargill for the TBS Championship. Why is Nyla Rose again getting a shot at the TBS Championship? What has Nyla Rose done to earn an opportunity to face Jade Cargill for the TBS Championship? Why is she getting another shot when she hasn't done nothing? TK, can you explain that to me? Why are you booking Nyla Rose to get another shot against Jade Cargill for the TBS Championship? And then we had Lee Moriarty versus Fuego Del Sol, Jobber Del Sol. This was pretty much a squash match. Of course, you have Jobber Del Sol in there, jobbing, as always. So Lee Moriarty ended up picking up the win. Crossface on Del Sol. Post-match, William Morrissey ended up coming in. He picked up Jobber Del Sol, and he picked him up with one arm. He ended up dropping Del Sol down to the mat, and that was that. Squash match. And then we had Lexi Nair. Lexi Nair was backstage with Hangman Adam Page, Evil Uno, and 10 of the Dark Order. Page ended up talking about Lexi Nair about his match for the AEW World Championship against Jon Moxley. So Andrade and Jose end up coming in. Andrade ended up telling Page that he set up Page's win. So Andrade ended up challenging 10 of the Dark Order. And that's going to be a mask versus career match. Meaning that it's going to be Mask versus Andrade leaving AEW. And that's going to take place next week on Rampage. So, pretty much that was basically that. So, Andrade's career is on the line. So, with that being said, if Andrade loses this match, he is out of AEW. And that just proved right there, maybe Andrade is going back to WWE. So, if he does lose, then it's official. Andrade is going to be going back to WWE. Because, of course, his wife is there, Charlotte Flair. So we're going to be getting that next week on Rampage. It's going to be Mask versus career on the line. And then we had Jamie Hayter versus Will Nightingale. Jamie Hayter was accompanied by Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Rebel. And this was a solid women's match here. Will Nightingale ended up ducking a lariat, ended up having Jamie Hayter down, and Nightingale was hitting Hayter with some huge headbutts. Jamie Hayter ended up trying to take down Willow, but she couldn't. Willow ended up dropping Hayter, ended up hitting her with a low crossbody. So Willow ended up going for a pin on Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter ended up kicking out at 2. Willow ended up hitting a chop on Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter came back, ended up hitting Willow, and took Willow into the corner. Jamie Hayter then nailed Willow with a huge knee to her face. So then as Rampage came back from the commercial, Jamie Hayter ended up delivering a backbreaker on Williow. She ended up going for the cover. Williow ended up kicking out. You had, later on, Williow ended up climbing up to the top rope, and the ref was distracted by Rebel. Britt Baker got involved, and she ended up grabbing Willow's leg, and Jamie Hayter ended up hitting Williow with the lariat, and she ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Jamie Hayter ended up winning the match. Overall, this was just a little solid women's match here. Not great. And then we had Ryan Nemeth in the ring. Dolph Ziggler's brother. Ryan Nemeth ended up saying that Rocky is not real, and that Ben Franklin is a chump that came to Philly to die. He ended up calling ECW. He mentioned ECW. And he was like, oh, what they used to call ECW? Extremely crappy wrestling. So yeah, he got that advice from Jerry the King Lawler. You know how Jerry Lawler used to always shit on ECW and call it extremely crappy wrestling. So then Ryan Nemeth was interrupted by Hook, the FTW champion. Hook then ended up coming into the ring. He ended up decking Ryan Nemeth, tossed him around the ring, and he ended up taking Nemeth out with crossfaces. He choked out Ryan Nemeth, and he passed out. Ryan Nemeth passed out of that. So Hook left the ring, and the Trustbusters ended up coming out with an envelope. They left it on the ramp, and Hook ended up grabbing the envelope and headed to the back. And pretty much that was basically that. This was an absolute waste of time. A big waste of time. Main event. Rush versus John Silver. So before the match got underway, we had Mark Henry interviewing John Silver and Rush backstage. So Rush ended up saying that he is here to fight and not to talk. So then we had the match. Rush versus John Silver. This was, pretty good main event here. Match ended up starting with Rush shoving John Silver. Rush came back, ended up pushing Silver, and Silver ended up taking out Rush, who Rush ended up rolling to the outside. Rush ended up coming back into the ring. He ended up punching Silver in the face. Rush had Silver in the corner, ended up hitting some chops to Silver, and then ended up hitting a drop kick to Silver's back. John Silver began to roll to the outside. Rush ended up pulling him out of the ring, tossed him into the guardrail. So the ref ended up trying to get both Rush and Silver back in the ring. Rush ended up tossing Silver back in the ring through the bottom rope. Rush then ended up hitting a huge elbow to Silver. And then Rush ended up going for the bullhorns. And he ended up stopping short and stomped away on John Silver. So when Rampage came back from the commercial, John Silver and Rush were exchanging splashes in the corner. Silver then ended up hitting Rush with a German suplex. Rush got up. He ended up leaping as Silver ended up catching him in midair. Silver ended up going for the cover, and Rush ended up kicking out too. So at the end of the match, we had Rush ended up kicking Silver. Both men were exchanging chops. Rush ended up hitting Silver with a huge chop. He ended up trying to go for a lariat, and Silver ended up moving out of the way. Silver ended up hitting Rush with a brainbuster. He ended up going for the cover, but Rush ended up kicking out. Alex Reynolds then ended up coming down to help John Silver. Andrade was distracting the ref. Rush then ended up hitting Silver with the bullhorns, which that was crazy. Roosh hitting Silver with the bull horns. We had Silver's head ricochet off the turnbuckles. So we had Roosh end up win the match. So we had post-match, we had Andrade and the rest of the AFO end up taking out John Silver. 10 and Evil Uno end up coming down to make the save. And the Butcher and the Blade came down, which the Butcher and the Blade are still employed by Andrade in the AFO. I forgot all about that the Butcher and the Blade were still employed by Andrade, by the AFO. So then Hangman and Page's music end up hitting. Page ended up coming out. He took out the Butcher and the Blade and Andrade. Roosh and Page started a brawl. Roosh avoided the buckshot lariat from Page. Jose ended up coming in. Roosh rolled out of the ring. Page ended up pinning Jose with the buckshot lariat. And Excalibur on commentary ended up announcing that Tony Khan has made this match official for Dynamite this Wednesday, which is going to be the 3-year anniversary show from Washington, D.C. So he ended up announcing that Tony Khan made the match official. It's going to be Hangman and Page versus Roosh this Wednesday on Dynamite, the 3-year anniversary show. So should be a good match between Page and Roosh. Roosh is very good in the ring. And that was Rampage tonight. But anyways, that's it for the Smackdown and AEW Rampage review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later.